With 1 minute remaining, I do see that we have a quorum of four trustees, so we will begin at 5:30. No, I see 5 trustees, sorry, okay.
Do we have 6?
What was that?
Do we have 6? Do we have 7?
Do we have 7? Do I hear a 7? Okay, very good. The November 10th, 2021 regular meeting of the Yosemite Community College District Board of Trustees is hereby called to order at 5:30. This governing board meeting is conducted pursuant to AB 361 and YCC resolution number 21-22.06. Good evening, everyone. We thank you for your patience as we continue to navigate this virtual platform. We welcome the board members and others who are participating via Zoom. Please be advised that everyone participating via Zoom video or call has been muted with the exception of the board members, the student trustee, and the chancellor. We also welcome any members of our district community and the members of the public who are viewing the meeting live via YouTube. Members of the public are welcome to record this meeting using their own personal devices, and the district will also make the recording available on the YCCD YouTube channel for 30 days in accordance with our board policy. As a reminder, board members are asked to use the raised hand features via Zoom when they wish to speak, and everyone is encouraged to mute their audio when not speaking to minimize disruption. The board is open to receiving public comments. The published agenda requested that public comments be submitted in advance of the meeting by email, and public comments will be read aloud by staff at the appropriate time during the meeting. Persons seeking to make an in real-time public comment may do so at the time of the agenda item and are asked to use the raised hand Zoom features. I ask that the trustees mute themselves at this time as we prepare for the Pledge of Allegiance on the evening before we commemorate Veterans Day, when our nation pauses to remember the anniversary of the end of World War I and a day to honor all of those who have served or are serving in our U.S. Armed Forces. So with that, I'd like to ask my colleague, Dr. Milton Richards, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Moving on to 4.3 roll call and to establish quorum, board stenographer.
Thank you. Trustees, in addition to confirming that you are present, I'll ask that you respond to the 3 questions listed in the agenda, which were, can you hear me well? Were you able to hear our proceedings on this end until now? And do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting? Student trustee Arshia Amir Soleimani.
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Antonio Aguilar.
Here, and yes to all 3 questions.
And present. Thank you. Trustee Leslie Begg.
Yes to all 3.
Thank you. Vice Chair Darren Garrett.
Present and yes to all 3.
Thank you. Trustee Nancy Hinton.
Present and yes to all 3.
Trustee Jenny Nicolau.
Present and yes to all 3.
Trustee Dr. Milton Richards.
Here and yes to all 3.
And Chair Margie Bulkin.
Here and yes to all 3.
Quorum is established.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 4.4, reporting out of closed session. There is no reportable action out of closed session. Moving on to 4.5, changes in order of business. The board reserves the right to modify the order of business in a manner that it deems appropriate by consent of the board. At this time, I ask trustees if there's an interest in changing the order of business on the agenda. Seeing none, moving on to item 4.6, which is the approval of minutes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 meetings. And I wanted to thank Graciela for the work that she put into doing these. And remember, last time we agreed to table over half of these in the interest of giving the board members more time to read them. So the pleasure of the board, we can take these all in one fell swoop, items 4.6 to 4.3, approval of minutes, or one item.
That would be my motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. A motion to approve 4.6 to 4.13. Is there a second?
I, Trustee Hinton, second the motion.
Thank you, Trustee Hinton. Roll call vote, board stenographer.
Thank you. Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Trustee Hinton.
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau.
Yes.
Chair Bokan.
Yes.
The vote is 7-0, motion carries.
Very good. Moving on to 4.14, public comments. At this time, I ask the board stenographer to first read aloud any public comments received via email, then introduce in real-time public comment requests. Please note that all email correspondence relating to this meeting will become part of the board minutes. Is there any public comment?
There were no public comments received via email, and I will just give it a moment to see if there's any raised hands that appear. And I do not see any at this time.
Very good. The hearing no comment, the record should reflect that there were no comments from the public. Moving on to item, I got to get there, hold on. 4. You got through a lot of items really fast. I had to flip my pages here. Okay, moving on to item 4.1, section 5, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Moving on to 5.1, Board Finance Committee report. I ask the Finance Committee Chair, Trustee Garrett, to give us his report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Board Finance Committee met on November 1st. Committee members present were myself, Trustee Dr. Milton Richards, and my esteemed colleague, Antonio Aguilar. We went over the routine and customary items. One note that I want to call out and compliment staff on, when we got our data for enrollment at that time at the meeting, we were currently down approximately 20%. With the strong work that's been done in the last few weeks, both paper advertisement and other forms of media advertisement, we've seen our enrollment numbers come up, and that's always very good news right now. I hope that is sustainable, and I know staff is doing everything they can to keep that momentum going forward and sustain those enrollment numbers. So that's the one little note I want to make, that those numbers have improved since we got that. The other items were routine and customary. Just compliment staff again for keeping us within budget and not going over budget. So that's a very good thing. We had a presentation on our, HERF and CARES money, where we stand, how that's going to be spent. So we've asked for a presentation again in the future, sort of an ongoing update to have an accounting, having transparency to make sure that we know how those monies are being spent. So we appreciate staff for doing that. The final item, which was discussed, was something that's been with the District Financial Advisory Committee for, I want to say, at least 3 years now, and that's the board's general fund reserve. So again, it's been with DFAC for a number of years. It's been talked about at the board level amongst all of us about increasing the amount given the uncertain times that we are in. And so given a recommendation from both the State Chancellor's Office and the State of California Legislative Analyst's Office, their recommendation going forward, we haven't got formal guidance from the State Chancellor's Office yet. We have gotten guidance from the LAO, and that is that boards should have, or college districts should have 2 months worth of unrestricted general fund reserves held. And that would take us to 17%. Currently, we're at 10. So that would be an increase of 7%. So it's on the agenda this evening, 8.4, and the recommendation is going to be to turn that back over to the Policy and Procedures Committee and then bring it back to the full board for adoption. So that's all I have this evening, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Garrett, for that report and that information. Very important to have. Moving on to 5.2, Board Policy Committee report. I defer to my colleague, Trustee Hinton, Chair of that committee, for her report.
Thank you, Chair Bolkin. We met on Monday and we had we looked at the board at the policies that we had presented to you guys last month, and we had no new ones because of the fact that the our meeting was delayed a week because of many of the trustees going to San Diego, or 4 of us going to San Diego for the state conference, or the national conference. So we will be getting a first reading, and we'll have no second readings next time because we have second readings this time. We ask that you guys would vote affirmative on the changes that we made. We want to thank those that showed up for the meeting, and also for the hard work of Kimberly Gibbs and Graciela and the Chancellor for attending the meeting with us, along with the IT guys that keep it going with the Zoom and everything, and the hard work that they put in. So it was a good meeting, and we just look for an affirmative vote from the board to push through the second readings that you'll be presented with later tonight from Kimberly Gibbs.
Very good. Thank you, Trustee Hinton, for that report, and looking forward to that item when it comes on the agenda later this evening. Moving on to section 6.1 presentation regarding the repopulating and enrollment plan updates, as we've been habit to listen to and gather information. And we hear reports from both presidents at our colleges, but I believe we start first with the Health Services Coordinators, Lorraine Campana, and the Health Services Coordinator, Amy Iraran, at the prospective campuses. Is that correct? Do we start first with that? Very good.
Hi, thank you. This is Amy Iraran. I'm just waiting for the presentation to come up. Here we go.
Welcome, Amy. Nice to have you.
Hi, thank you. Okay, well, good evening. Thank you for having us once again. We're here to provide updates from local and state public health agencies, present county conditions, and share some recent valuable information with you all. What we'll present in numbers was passionately represented by a local ICU nurse who spoke at the last board meeting. He humanized the situation and asked for our help. As health professionals, our objective is to continue to inform leadership, but to also remind us all that we are in a pandemic. We'll start with a review of our county numbers. Next slide, please. So if you can see on the top left there, our case rates have mostly plateaued. We saw a little dip this week, and in fact, the updated case rate today is down to 21.3. So that's very good news when the case rate dips, and we just need to follow that trend. Our case rate is still classified as high, and the county is preparing for an increase in cases as we head into the holiday season, with more people gathering and staying indoors. The most important point is what's happening in our hospitals. So on the bottom left, the level of vaccination in the county makes hospitals vulnerable to a surge of patients in the next couple of months. Keeping people out of the hospital and preventing death is the priority. For vaccination coverage, it's slowed in recent weeks. We're at 58% of eligible county residents fully vaccinated. And we don't yet know the vaccination status of MJC employees and students overall. However, data shared recently from Stan County Public Health shows that 60% of county residents ages 18 to 29 are unvaccinated. The highest vaccination rate is among our 65 plus residents at 72%. Stann County officials have expressed that the universal mask mandate, the indoor mask mandate, is likely to last through the spring semester. Next slide for Tuolumne County.
Good evening. So Tuolumne County, this is the dashboard from yesterday. Today's, I just peeked at, we have 2 more hospitalizations, 25 new cases, and a 14-day case rate of 38. So I wanted to read a recent excerpt from Tuolumne County Union Democrat. Dr. Eric Sergienko said, our county health officer, on Friday, that our cases appear to be just leveling off. We aren't really having much of a decline. And he said we are still in what is considered a substantial case rate at 41 or even 38. Anything above 8 is substantial. So I'd like to draw your attention to that orange line in the middle of this picture here, because that shows where the surges happened in Tuolumne County. We were at baseline until November of last year. We kind of started some of the early surges, but then after November, you can see we had the sharp rise of our first surge. Leveled off in March, we had some vaccination going on, nice leveling off until the end of July, and we began a second surge, which continues until today. So what the question is for us is, will these cases rise again as they did last year in November at the holiday season, or will we level off and eventually decline? And we don't know the answer to that. We can look at our vaccination rate and know that we are not in a vaccination rate that would be hopeful yet to decrease these numbers. But that's Tuolumne. All right, next slide for Amy.
So this is a slide with latest guidance. California Department of Public Health and local public health agencies continue to point us to the CDC for guidance on how to operate with a fully vaccinated or mixed vaccination status campus. We've presented on this before. So again, per CDC, fully vaccinated campuses can operate similar to pre-pandemic norms without distancing or routine testing. But for mixed status campuses, the CDC continues to recommend distancing, masking, maximizing ventilation, hand hygiene, and robust contact tracing and investigation for reports of positive, symptomatic individuals and contacts. The only mandate that applies for both scenarios is the universal indoor masking. The CDC and American College Health Association continue to promote distancing as a tool to reduce spread. Distancing at 6 feet or more will lower our contacts. Keep in mind that close contacts who are unvaccinated and within 6 feet of a positive individual are still required through a county mandate to quarantine. And when an individual is positive, the infectious period and the contact tracing that happens actually begins 48 hours prior to symptom onset, or if there's no symptoms, it's 48 hours prior to the positive test. Mitigation like contact tracing and investigation of cases align with YCCD Board Policy 5210, which states the Chancellor shall establish procedures necessary to assure cooperation with local public health officials in measures necessary for the prevention and control of communicable diseases in students. Also, Student Health Services professional staff shall maintain a liaison with local public health officials in order to cooperate for the prevention and control of communicable diseases in students and comply with any immunization program required by State Department of Health Services regulations. So this is why the mitigation efforts continue and why we're doing what we're doing. Finally, Lorene and I have reached out to colleagues across the California Community College system to learn about their implementation processes as they relate to vaccine and testing mandates. And everyone we've spoken to is outsourcing campus-wide testing and vaccination programs with one or more companies. The current in-house capabilities to take this on are too limited. Next slide for Lorene.
We wanted to bring forward some recent developments that we've come across our desk, particularly as this important question has been raised by the Board of Trustees during the repopulating segments, and is the concept of vaccine versus acquired immunity for COVID-19. So the passage of time in the pandemic has allowed for data gathering. And November 1st, just last week, the CDC published a 9-state study that involved over 7,000 cases between January 2021 and September of 2021, looking at this question. They looked at individuals who had never been vaccinated prior to never had an infection of COVID prior to being vaccinated, and those who had a COVID infection and had not been vaccinated. And what they found is highlighted in the first paragraph here. Unvaccinated people who had a recent infection were 5 times more likely to be reinfected with coronavirus compared to those who were fully vaccinated and did not have a prior infection. So this is a question that has more data coming to it, but it looks like our current county numbers reflect this unfortunate lapse in protection from prior COVID infections. We have low rates of vaccination. We have high infection numbers in unvaccinated people, and yet we continue to have high rates of infection, hospitalization, and deaths. So that seems to play out in what we're seeing in our counties. Next slide. Another important and crucial question that has come up in our discussions during this time is vaccine safety, and it's very important. So why is the confidence of the majority of health professionals so high regarding the safety of vaccines? And I just wanted to report that besides the VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System that is looking at all the COVID vaccines, there are also multiple systems, complementary systems in place, including this, an app, VSafe, which is used, the VSD system, which is 9 nationwide healthcare organizations that share adverse effects, which include the entire Kaiser Permanente system, the CISA project, which is a network of vaccine safety experts, 7 medical research centers, and multiple other private partners. And there's even more safety information and data being collected, and they continue to overwhelmingly show that these vaccines are safe and effective. So the vaccine trials still do continue, and what they are looking at now that safety has been established, they're watching how long immunity is going to last for the vaccine. So why are we look at the vaccine adverse reports so high? And the reason is these systems are designed to allow anyone to report, and that's really important. The limitations of this type of reporting are that it's difficult to determine a causal relationship between the vaccine and a reported event. But the actual confirmed adverse events that have been investigated are a fraction of what are actually reported. Next slide. We'd like you to know that our professional organization, the Health Services Association of California Community Colleges, has sent a letter to Governor Newsom last week requesting a vaccine requirement for the California community colleges. This organization is made up of the directors of health services, coordinators, staff, and administrators who serve and advocate for our students. And a couple of excerpts from this letter. The full letter is available through Graciela. Our branch of public education has not been directed to follow this critical public health action to protect the health and life of our college communities. 33 community colleges have independently determined this course of action. Another excerpt, we applaud and support the recent diversity, equity, and inclusion focus of the California Community College Chancellor's Office. This is an extremely important program for our California Community College system. And yet it is within many of the populations that create our diversity that COVID-19 is wreaking the highest toll in death and illness. We pledge to support them in their education, and we have the opportunity to support their health while they pursue that education as well. The full letter has been sent to Graciela in case you want to read that. One last piece I'd just like to include is on mental health. Yes, mental health issues have increased during the COVID pandemic and have been reflected in our student populations. I attended a webinar this week that reviewed stress, anxiety, depression, fear, and worry have increased since the pandemic, but a surprising and welcome finding has also found that students have demonstrated resiliency and that they report that they have increased successful self-management of their mental health issues, and that they are reaching out to find support that has been accommodated in the virtual options that they have at the community, at all colleges. So that was helpful. And one other piece on that, we do have to consider the collective national grief that is also a crisis in our nation. Our population deals with an estimated of 10 to 20 individuals experiencing high levels of grief for each person who dies of COVID-19. So with 750,000 cases currently, that's 7 to 15 million of our nation grieving the loss of family and friends. So this is also a mental health crisis. So thank you. With that, I end our report.
Thank you so much, Amy and Laureen. As each time you present, we learn more information and are better informed. Thank you so much. And we'll move now to Dr. Javaharipur and or Dr. Bandyopadhyay. I don't know who's going first. And then maybe at the end, if we have questions from trustees, we can do that. But am I correct in Dr. Bandyopadhyay or Dr. Javaharipur? Are they presenting?
I will go ahead.
Okay, Dr. B, go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much. Good evening. Now, we have heard about our enrollment and how we are going to repopulate the campus. So this is an update since we have started the MJC is Free for Me campaign. Now, if you recall, our priority registration began on 25th of October. That was last month. And first week was kind of disastrous. Towards the end of the first week, we started launching this MJC for Me MJC is Free for Me campaign. 4 prongs: forgiven all the student debt owed to college, launched, that's it. Tuition is free, offering free tuition, 0 student fees, $250 towards bookstore vouchers for those willing to share a proof of vaccination, an additional $250 cash incentive for those who are going to be there for 6 units or more and stick around. With all of that, and we are investing about $10 million in our community in these campaigns. So some of the preliminary results that are coming in, we are looking at 2 areas. One is the website, and the other is 1-833 MJC Life. That's the other part where we are receiving the calls. We established this customer service call center that went operational on November 1st. We are recording each of the calls. We have received over 200 calls in this line alone. And the calls talk about how students can fill out FAFSA or CADA forms, or they're looking for appointment with the counselors. So we're tracking each of these calls and seeing that, yes, there is a reasonable amount of traffic which is coming after they have seen the MJC is Free for Me, that campaign. Second area that we're measuring is our website. The web traffic is kind of a good indication of how many people are looking at these ads and are interested. There has been 26,912 page views. We have a separate page set up for MJC's Free for Me. 26,900, that's almost 27,000 page views, which is an enormous number. And the average time spent on the page is over a minute. And over a minute spent on an internet page, that's like a lifetime. People typically gloss over the page in 5 seconds to 10 seconds. And our public relations person, Janet Fontana, has been assiduously tracking all of these information. And we are seeing this traffic is picking up. So that part is good, that we are getting a lot of this interests and people are curious about it. But ultimately, the whole thing depends upon how does this translate into the enrollment. Because unless we make the sale, then having all the inquiries and all the marketing efforts, that does not add up to anything. As of yesterday, when we look at the comparative numbers, spring 22 compared to spring 2021, we are about 300 FTEs short. So instead of 2,933, we are at 2,631, which is, we have bridged the gap quite narrowly. Now, one thing that we have to keep in mind that many of these inquiries that we are seeing, students may be interested in enrolling, but unless the priority registration ends, general population of students cannot register. For another week, we are still on the priority registration time limit. And once that ends, then it will be opened up for all the entire population of students. Whoever is interested can come in. So deans are looking at this very carefully and monitoring closely that how soon can we open up the priority general population registration without violating any of the laws. Typically, priority registration would continue till the next week, and following Monday, we would open up our general registration. But this time, we are looking at flipping the switch on Friday night itself to take advantage of the weekend and also push people over the weekend so we can get some numbers ramped up. So I'm optimistic. Has all the numbers come in yet? I don't know, but the trend looks quite positive. And looking at this trend and looking at the interest generated, I'm hoping that we would be able to bridge the gap. Some of the other benefits which has come in, two specific areas. Again, Janet had this unique idea that how about we send our MJC's Free for Me campaign to all the local county officials. So Stan County, which department is that? Let me just take a look at that department. There's the Human Relations Department of Stan County, who has more than 2,500 people in their roles. And they said that we can definitely determine the appropriate way to get this information out to employees to help with their potential education, career, and job aspirations. So we are going to be partnering with them to see how we can spread out this message. The other area that we have got another impact is we are about to sign off an agreement with Amazon Career Choice. Amazon Career Choice, Amazon is now funding their employees a full year's tuition. So it has nothing to do with MJC for free, but the media blitz that we have created, probably it's an offshoot of that they saw our name and they are coming up to us. So we are in the process of signing the agreement with them. The agreement allows any of the Amazon employees in their Tracy Fulfillment Center, in Patterson, or in Turlock to avail of the college credit-bearing courses. Tracy alone has 2,000 plus employees. Add Turlock and Patterson, we're looking at 4,000 plus employees. And these students can come in directly. Amazon pays full 1 year's tuition. We report their success rates and so on and so forth. So we have identified all the partnerships and it's the process of executing it. It should be operational from January of 2022. So far, again, the entire area looks promising. Three specific areas of concern that I would just bring to your notice, and I will stop at that point of time. Three different areas. One is theater, music, and dance productions. Now, we are planning for students to participate in theater, music, and dance productions. Now, the problem is in this area, because students are really in close proximity and they perform together, unless they're fully vaccinated, it becomes an issue. Sometimes they prepare for rehearse through everything, and in the last moment, the rehearsals are stopped because they cannot perform a show. Also, the local industry standards like Gallo, they demand that all of their performers will have to be vaccinated. Some of their other guilds, they're also asking for the same thing. So we are contemplating how we can operationalize that to require our students who are a part of that particular program, those particular activity-oriented areas, they are going to be vaccinated. That's one area. Another area of concern that we have is in the child development department, because our customers, they're children between 18 months and 5 years. Of course, we are not talking about vaccination of that population, but the students who are coming there or the faculty, the people who are coming there, unless they are vaccinated, they might pose a risk to the children. So that's another area that we are navigating, that how do we move in the direction to keep those kids safe. Also thinking about the parents who come to drop them, how do we test them so they are figure out a process of going about with them. And the third and the last area is allied health. We have a very high vaccination rate, the highest in the campus, 82 to 95%. But again, we have to have all of them vaccinated because the clinical facilities where they are going to be practicing, clinicals do not, the hospitals do not allow our students to be non-vaccinated and going to those facilities. So we are having a little bit of pushback out there from some of the students who are asking that, why can't I join this program? And our point is, you'll take a seat, but you cannot do your clinicals. So what's the point in wasting a seat out there? So those are the areas that we are trying to navigate, that how we can require the students to vaccinate, and what's the path of least resistance. So that's where I would stop. It has been a good inquiry generation till now. Lots of work that has gone in. Specifically, I would like to thank Jeanette Fontana. I would like to thank our newest VP, Dr. Andrea Wilson, for setting up and managing all of that call centers. All the deans, they're doing a fabulous job in terms of managing this whole show. So I'll stop there. Questions?
Let me finish the presentation with Dr. Javaharipur, and then if the trustees have questions about the entire presentation, let's just do that. But thank you for that. Dr. Javaharipur, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I decided to come second because a lot of the items that Dr. Panpadye was presenting includes the kind of stuff that we're doing at Columbia College. The Columbia Free for Me website is up and running, and we should thank very much our colleagues at MJC, Jeanette Fontana particularly, for sharing the work that they did for their website with us, and we customized it for Columbia College since we don't have the staff at Columbia to do this kind of work. We do have our chatbots for financial aid open as the students call in, start working on their FAFSA. These chatbots pop up and try to support the students with their questions and completing their forms. We're attempting to expand this to other areas of student services area also. On the marketing side, we do have radio ads up and social media ads and direct messaging to the students. And this is particularly possible at Columbia because our student population is lower and we have fewer students than MJC. So our staff at Student Services area compares the enrollments from last semesters who are not registered for this semester, and they call them directly and invite them to add courses and rejoin the campus. And then further, we have direct messaging to the students through the Canvas shell that we make announcements regarding classes that are available and registration that's open. The same as MJC, we are going through the priority reg time right now, and as soon as that is over, we open for general population registration, and we're hoping that that's going to add to our enrollments. Again, our report regarding the percentage of courses is about 50%, about 48%, 50% still. We've planned them to be on campus face-to-face, about 36% are online, and then the 14%, that's the balance is in different modalities, as in correspondence and other modalities that we share courses with our students. With that, I stand for questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Javaharipur. So we've heard 4 presentations from both colleges. Are there any comments or questions from our trustees? Not at this time. Thank you for those exciting developments in enrollment and repopulation and the important information from our health services coordinators. Thank you so much. We'll move now to 6.2 association reports, and we'll start off first with the Associated Students of Columbia College, ASCC President Ricky Lee Corba. Greetings, Ricky.
Hello, sorry. All right, so the ASCC had a Halloween Spirit Week in October, and it went really well, so much so that we're going to continue this event into the future and possibly have another Spirit Week type in the spring semester. At the request of College Council, a couple questions to ask the students were presented. So we made a survey and it has been sent out to all the students. We're getting lots of responses. Last time I checked, there were over 130. So after the results, we plan to have a town hall where we will invite students, staff, faculty to come and ask questions. We'll answer some of the questions and clarify some things that came up inside of the survey. And our last event planned is the Cram Night event, which is a study event for students right before finals week. I'm really happy to be a part of the ASCC, and I'm super excited for the student trustee, Arshia, and how great of a job he's doing. And I'm excited to finish this semester and start spring. Thank you.
Oh, Ricky, thank you so much for that uplifting report. Appreciate it. We'll move now to ASMJC President Maria Marquez. Greetings, Maria.
Hello, good evening/night, since it's pretty dark outside. Board of Trustees and Chancellor Young, I am very happy to see you all today. So I'll start right away with my report for ASMJC. Throughout October 28th through November 3rd, ASMJC held the Day of the Dead event, where we had an altar and PowerPoint display in the Student Center, where we explained the different meanings and significance of honoring our dead for this holiday of the Hispanic community. We also are participating on this week on Veterans Education Week, where we thank our veterans for their service, as well providing programs and services or resources for them to continue their education. Not to forget that midterms are coming up, so ASMJC is preparing something special, some videos and posts encouraging and thanking our students for their hard work and dedication during these difficult times. That's pretty much my report for this meeting. I would like to thank every single person that's attending, and please let me know if there is any questions.
Well, thank you so much, Maria. Those are great events that you accomplished and ones that you're planning. Very good. Thank you so much. We'll move now to LTAC President Jillian Daly. Greetings, Jillian. Is Jillian available? We can come back if she shows on screen. I'll move now to Yosemite Faculty Association President Dimitri Kariotis. Greetings, Dimitri. Are you there? Oh, hello. Greetings. Welcome.
Good evening, Chair Volk, trustees, and Chancellor Young. As the number of our on-campus class offerings will increase in spring semester, thus bringing more students to campus, especially in concentrated settings, and increasing the possible risk of spreading the virus, we look to your leadership to ensure the safety of all involved and the safety of those with whom those involved will subsequently interact in parts of the campuses, in their communities, in their homes. Anxiety and frustration among the faculty regarding the lack of a plan for this greater return is intensifying. I cannot stress enough the need to know how the colleges will handle sundry scenarios should they arise. I've spoken to many faculty, some pro-vaccine, others anti-vaccine, and they all shared that they don't want to contract the virus or contract the virus again. So I ask you, trustees, how you make sure that with this increase of persons on our campuses come extensive operational safety protocols to prevent spreading. On a different note, the last negotiations meeting ended with the YFA team feeling optimistic because of the good progress made at this meeting, where both teams agreed to rewrite and present their proposals at the next session. Our district's benefits attract and keep quality employees at YCCD, and they significantly help morale. Our benefits set us apart from other districts. The faculty union recognizes and is grateful for this privilege, and we advocate to continue this Yosemite Community College District tradition of offering its employees stellar benefits. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dimitri, for that information. Appreciate it. Moving on to our CSEA First Vice President, Interim President, Amy Lovett. Welcome, Amy.
Good evening, Chair Vulcan, fellow trustees, and Chancellor Young. November is an exciting and busy month for CSEA Chapter 420. Members recently ratified 25 job descriptions that were included in the annual district-initiated classification review, as well as 2 brand new job classifications within the area of instruction. These new positions, Instructional Support Specialist Mathematics and Instructional Support Technician Audio, Video, Recording, and Music Lab, will help alleviate the needs of their departments. Next week, the Executive Board is hosting a fall social distancing for our classified professionals at Central Services, Columbia College, MJC East Campus, and MJC West Campus. It is a small token to thank and recognize all classified professionals for the hard work and dedication that our members provide day in and day out. Our November chapter meeting brings the final round of nominations for the 2022 CSEA leadership team. Last month's meeting, we were excited to have multiple nominations for the open executive board positions. In order for the members to get to know the candidates, we are planning to host a candidate forum and Q&A session at the end of the month prior to voting. I would like to personally thank Dorothy Pimentel, Director of Risk Management, Purchasing, and Receiving, for offering a series of ASCIP's mind, body, and virtual workshops. The physical, emotional, and mental health of our classified professionals are extremely important. During the pandemic, we have all struggled in one way or another as we navigated the unknown waters, and now we must adjust to the new normal daily life. Having these workshops helps develop and strengthen our resilience. Our classified professionals appreciate the opportunity to participate in professional and personal development. Being offered workshops and trainings to improve our job performance and well-being should be considered as a great investment and should be valued at the administration level. Classified professionals are extremely vested in the development of campus and student support services. Many of us are local residents, former students of MJC in Columbia, have served as a student worker, and are alumni of MJC in Columbia, and now we are parents of students attending here. We are part of the community of which we serve. We are supportive of fostering the culture and work environment that identify opportunities for employee growth. On a last note, many of our classified members never left campus when COVID shifted our normal operations. Now, with the influx of retirements and organizational needs, 2 departments have stood out across the campus. Thank you to our campus security and facilities maintenance and operation members. They have been giving their all to ensure the needs of YCCD are met, even while short-staffed. We are all eager for the classified vacancies to be filled in both of these departments and have a permanent, fully loaded management team over these areas. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the Board of Trustees on behalf of CSEA Chapter 420.
Thank you so much for your report and your information and your advocacy of our classified professionals. Thank you so much. We'll move now to faculty representative to the board, Alan McKissick. Greetings, Alan. But I don't see you. Are you there, Alan?
Thank you very much.
Oh, there you are. Greetings. Welcome.
Yes. Greetings. Thank you. And thank you for this opportunity to address you. You'll be hearing from Faculty Association presidents in addition to Dimitri tonight. And as I have conferred with those leaders and been in many faculty meetings lately, I was reflecting on the collegial decision-making that is the hallmark of our district's government, and that is something I have often celebrated in my remarks. That process and the meeting of the mind it so often produces is cause for celebration. However, to state the obvious, such process will bring contrasting positions into sharp relief at times. Passion of position will fuel that, and again and lately, obviously. The passion in the room, however, must be recognized as support for student success, which must include a foundation of students' health and well-being. I can say without hesitation that our board has demonstrated every commitment to that. You can stand on your record. The board has also demonstrated its support for best practices in teaching. For these reasons, I hope we will honor all that common ground while we fully and frankly grapple with our situation. I've gone to meeting after meeting and heard faculty members, as Dimitri referenced, and not just on, say, the YFA side, but also the academic senates who are tasked with our academic mission of the college, trying to work on shifting ground, and to a large degree, that has been unavoidable. The board recognized that situation in its YCCD resolution 21-22.07, which again recognizes the need for flexibility and responding to the changing circumstances and additional information that is happening all the time. The input you are hearing tonight is all about that, and I believe as requested. It would be deeply wrong if you are not hearing strongly felt sentiments, given our situations, and given the fact that we are turning our attention to at least the beginning of what might be called a return to normalcy. I reflect sometimes on great dislocations in our culture, locally and nationwide. And when it became time to return to normalcy, it was never that smooth and easy, right? But it's the path we're on, I hope. Having said all that, and given my proclivity for quoting great personages, I will again quote one of my favorite trustees, Darren Garrett, when he said, "Let's all bear in mind that next Monday, we're all going to have to come back to work together." Thank you again for this opportunity to address you.
Alan, thank you as always for the work you do, and the comments that you always steer towards collegial decision-making. Very nicely put. Thank you for your report. We'll now go to, before I go to the Academic Senate activity reports, Graciela, has Jillian Daly appeared in the room yet?
No, she has not, and I don't believe that she will be coming, but if she does, I will let you know at the tail end.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll move to Academic Senate activity reports, and we'll start first with Columbia College Academic Senate President Lana Von Epps. Welcome, Lana.
Good evening. Hello, Chancellor Young, Chair Bolkin, trustees. Hello, everybody. It's pitch black outside. So let's get right to it. So our last Academic Senate meeting of the fall semester for Columbia College is this coming Friday. We've got a packed agenda, and there's a couple of topics I want to let you know about. First, I would like to congratulate my esteemed colleague, Dr. Colin Thomas, who will be confirmed as the Accreditation Faculty Co-Chair, lasting for several years. We are going to be having our first reading on a resolution for the district calendar editions of Juneteenth, Cesar Chavez Day, and Native American Day. So we're making some nice progress there. We're also having our second reading on the co-resolution between Columbia College and MJC Senates regarding compensation for part-time faculty serving on committees. We're also very excited to invite President G.H. Javier to our Academic Senate meeting this coming Friday to give his side of how our faculty recommendations for hiring is going. We've recommended 6 positions to move forward, and we're very excited to update job descriptions for positions that are moving forward, get them advertised, having that whole hiring process wrapped up and brought to the body here in April. So we're looking forward to that next step in the process. Columbia College and MJC Senates are also looking to plan a joint Senate meeting to discuss our shared topics, such as working on aligning courses in preparation for Common Course numbering, looking at credit for private learning, and especially streamlining our registration process and working with self-serve. Now, I might be a little cheeky here, but if you have never tried to register for classes at either Columbia or MJC, I would love to give you homework to try that out. I have found it very enlightening. I myself had tried to register for a class and the process was enlightening to me. So I hope you would share in that process. Other things we're looking for in terms of sharing, we're very excited to be involved in the shared governance process and discussion, talking about a 17% reserve and what the implications for that is. This last week, I was the Columbia College voting delegate at the Academic Senate of California Community Colleges plenary 3-day conference. Lots of really excellent equity-minded, diversity, equity, inclusion topics at the conference. I really enjoyed it. And on Saturday, we debated for 4 hours on many resolutions. And I will send the board the final adopted packet for your review, should you like that. There's a couple of resolutions that I'd like to bring to the body tonight. In regards to our COVID-19, I know we're all getting maybe a little tired of hearing about this, but this is still really important work with a lot going on. So 2 resolutions involving COVID-19 of impact are addressing the widening knowledge and equity gap caused by and continued impact of COVID on our STEM, right, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and our English programs, that those problems are seeing a lot of loss of knowledge with our students being underprepared as an impact of COVID-19. The other one I'd like to bring to your attention is Resolution 13.02. I believe my colleague at MJC will also bring this to your attention, but it's important enough that I wanted to at least tell you about the resolves. So this is in support of prevention and control of COVID-19 in the interests of safe learning environments. So in brief, the resolves are that safe teaching and learning is vital for student success and is an academic and professional matter. And we have been tasked, faculty have been tasked with communicating this necessity to administering and governing boards. Resolve that to require all newly hired and existing employees and students be vaccinated for COVID-19. This is resolution is strongly supported by our Student Senate for California Community College, who has the standpoint in support of requiring COVID-19 vaccinations. So there's still a lot of questions going around about our current resolution about the testing mandate. I'm getting things like, hey, well, how often is this testing and who's going to pay and how do we do this? And, when can we return to class? When can we have full classes? And lots of suggestions of, well, can't we just do what every concert venue, airport, and school is already doing, which is proof of vaccination or a recent negative test. So we still got some work to do on that. I would like to end my presentation to the board with honoring and thanking our U.S. military veterans, especially those who are YCCD students, who bring such a breadth of knowledge and experience to our community. Some of my most amazing students that I have ever had and continue to have a personal relationship have been veterans. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of my life. And that is all for me. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Lana. You're busy. That's a lot of information. I'm particularly fond of this common course numbering concept. So thank you for that joint work that you'll be doing together with the MJC Senate. Thank you again. Moving on to our MJC Senate President, Aisha Saleh. Welcome, Aisha.
Thank you. Hello, trustees and Chancellor Young. Thank you for your time. On November 4th, by unanimous vote, MJC's Academic Senate passed MJC faculty concerns and questions regarding YCCD Board Resolution 21-22.07. In addition to the document passed by our Senate, on Saturday, November 6th, the Academic Senate of California Community Colleges, or ASCCC, in alignment with the Student Senate for California Community Colleges Board of Directors, passed Resolution 13.02 in support of prevention and control of COVID-19 in the interest of safe learning environments, which asserted that a safe teaching and learning environment for students and faculty is vital for student success, and resolved to work with system partners to explore options to require COVID-19 vaccinations, and stated their support of the Student Senate for California Community Colleges Board of Directors, who took a position in support of requiring COVID-19 vaccines. I have been directed to express the sentiments of MJC's faculty. The Academic Senate of Modesto Junior College has compiled a list of faculty concerns regarding the YCCD Board's Resolution 21-22.07. It is our belief that members of the Board of Trustees should take stronger action that demonstrates their commitment to fiscal responsibility and to the well-being of students, the institution, and to the community in a way that follows the best science and health practices our nation can offer. YCCD Board's Resolution 21-22.07 falls short of supporting our educational mission and placing in peril the lives, livelihood, and future of students, faculty, classified professionals, administrators, and their families. Our Declaration of Independence's most famous phrase starts with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because the other two are irrelevant without it. The Academic Senate urges the YCCD Board of Trustees to follow its own code of ethics and standards of practice and act in the best interests of the entire district community, and to prevent conflict of interests and the perception of conflict of interests. Faculty demand a resolution to this issue that would allow us to safely and effectively serve our students and further the mission of the college. We urge members of the Board of Trustees to reconsider their position and take further action to place our health, both physical and institutional, and student success front and center of their decisions. Faculty's primary concerns. The survey of faculty indicated that nearly 80% supported empowering the chancellor to develop a vaccine and/or testing requirement. And the vast majority of faculty who have made public comments at board meetings have called for a vaccine requirement with testing as an option for those with medical or religious exemptions. The work of faculty is central to the mission of the college, and it is also some of the riskiest work occurring on our campuses during the pandemic. I will now express the sentiments of the concerns, primarily with language pulled directly from the document. Millions of dollars have been reallocated to pay for this testing requirement, as our board chose to implement one of the most expensive and least effective approaches to make our campus safe enough for increased face-to-face instruction. $2.3 million of those dollars were supposed to go to HVAC replacement in order to improve the circulation of air in classrooms and offices. Many of our fiscal concerns noted how fiscally irresponsible it is to spend millions on testing when social distancing guidelines would mean that our college would not see the enrollment increases needed to make it a sound fiscal decision. I recently learned that our college has decided to maintain class sizes for face-to-face instruction this upcoming spring and have no requirement for physical distancing planned, which is in opposition to public health recommendations for educational institutions. While this decision still doesn't make the operationalizing of this resolution fiscally sound, it does make it more dangerous. This resolution disincentivizes vaccination and undermines vaccine confidence for the students and community members who are looking to YCCD and the college for guidance. Faculty understand the desire to leave personal health decisions to the individual and to emphasize choice, but we need a plan with choices that does not prioritize the choice of only those who are vaccine averse. A vaccine requirement with the possibility of exemptions would allow us to give more students access to education in a setting that best serves them without the barriers created by this testing only requirement. Many of our programs and services were not considered in this resolution, as it hinders their ability to operate successfully. Some have requirements related to their external licensing, clinical or industry partners, regional workforce entities, and so on. Or they serve community members who are not yet students, which was not addressed in the resolution. Operationalizing this resolution will have negative impacts on student success that cannot be justified as they go against the mission of the college. Courses that are scheduled to be face-to-face this coming spring are at risk of interruption from positive COVID cases and the resulting quarantines. Changing modalities can impact the quality of instruction, can be pedagogically unsound, causes instability in the course, negatively impacts student success and retention, and hinders the ability of faculty to teach and serve students effectively. Our labs cannot safely function in person with a testing-only policy, and we cannot guarantee the transferability of our courses being taught with online labs. The CIDs require face-to-face labs, and CID requirements have to be met to guarantee transferability of our courses. We are risking our students being required to retake courses and our programs being decertified, which would irreparably damage the reputation of our college and district. It isn't a defensible position when all UCs and CSUs have returned to normal operations once their vaccine requirements were in place. Our students are being left behind when many already come from socially and economically disadvantaged situations, and this policy ensures that they will stay a step behind. The resolution is a conflict of interest in that the trustees are creating policy by which they themselves will be required to abide. Limiting the chancellor by removing options available for managing a public health crisis threatens the fiscal and operational stability of our college and therefore the district, and it puts our district in a position of additional and unnecessary liability. Safety protocols should only be decided based on the recommendations of medical professionals and public health officials. The resolution removed all references to public health experts that were included in the first draft, and instead put the board in a position of making public health decisions. The YCCD board cited breakthrough infections as a reason for implementing a testing for all strategy. Faculty share that concern. We can minimize breakthrough infections by being proactive instead of reactive and require vaccination for in-person classes and services and continue with masking. Faculty also believe in choice, which would be served by a vaccination requirement for those in in-person instructional spaces, along with testing and masking. Please note that our focus is on instructional spaces because that is our responsibility. When in-person classes are not offered, that is less choice, which is a consequence of not having the option of a vaccination requirement. Like faculty, the Board of Trustees acts in service of the mission of the college. Our mission is to empower students to discover opportunities and reach their goals through access and inclusion in higher education. This resolution does not allow us, under the circumstances, to effectively work in service of that mission to our students, to all our students, and students will suffer. Faculty are asking the board to reconsider. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha, for presenting that information to us for our consideration. Appreciate it. Moving on now to 6.3, presentations and updates from the Chancellor, Dr. Young.
Item.
Go ahead. You're on.
Our first item is the presentation award. And I want to draw your attention to this award that is being awarded to a dean at MJC. To bring this about, let me call on the president, Santanu Banjapathe, to give the details and to announce the award.
Thank you, Chancellor Young. This is with great pleasure that I come here this evening to talk about a presentation of an award to one of our deans. Before I go into the details of this, last 1.5 years, since last March, it has been a pandemic time. Operations were problematic, challenging. Many of the situations, many of the places were closed, and we were all struggling to get our students. There was one person that whenever I come to campus, she's always there. I have never seen her in a bad mood. She's always cheerful. She's always looking at, yes, we can do this. And yes, we can make this happen. And let's go and get this done because we are here to serve our communities. It seems that no challenge, no kind of obstacle can put a downer to her spirit. She's always upbeat. She's always, we will make it happen. And that's what I call a transformative leadership. Dr. Vicky Malveni Trask, I know you are in the audience. Can you show your face? Can you open up your video, please?
I'm very humbled.
I'm not done yet.
Oh.
Our first Transformative Leadership Award goes to Dr. Vicky Malveni Trask because of the exemplary achievement, not just being there, not just being cheerful and that can-do attitude, but the result that she has brought in. She leads our Division of Workforce Development and Lifelong Learning. Over the last 1 year, again, in the middle of pandemic, where different employers were closing down, variety of things were happening, she single-handedly pursued contract after contract after contract. A phone call comes from Vicky to my office. Dr. B, we got this $500,000 contract. Dr. B, we got this contract. We got that contract. When you add up that entire effect of that contract, she took a division which was $500,000 to the red, and she transformed that into $800,000 in the black. That's a $1.3 million contribution. Vicky, you are an example. You totally deserve this. If there is something called transformative leadership and there is something called enthusiasm, you embody it. I am so proud to have you as my colleague. I wish we could be in person. I could shake hands. I'm not known for hugging. And in coronavirus times, we cannot hug anyway. But we could have at least shaken hands and I could see you in person and enjoy a laughter, a smile. And after the meeting, could have just caught up on a beverage, whatever that beverage might be. I'm not naming it. That is pending. We need to celebrate that someday. So it's my pleasure to introduce this award, the first time Transformative Leadership Award that goes to Dr. Vicky Malveni Trask. Vicky.
I cannot tell you that I wish I could say it was about me, but it's about our community. It's about team effort. The team that I'm leading are just phenomenal people. The other deans that I work alongside with, and also the other staff in classified and certificated. But I also want to say great leaders are only great leaders because you work with great leaders. And so I want to say thank you to Sarah and Jennifer and to Dr. B and the people in cabinet. I could not be here today without that kind of support. And also I'd just like to say to my mentor, Pedro Mendez, who has been a good mentor. And also Chancellor Young, I'm just so glad to be a part of the team. And board, I believe that we can make a difference. And I appreciate your vote of confidence and our department. And we're going to be big this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Trustee Garrett.
Well, I just want to say that if you don't know who Vicky is, Vicky has been changing lives and impacting lives her entire career. You know, we were very lucky to steal her away from her previous employer. But I had the honor and opportunity to get to know her on the Stanislaus County Juvenile Justice Commission as a member, and the impact she was making inside of our juvenile institutions here in Stanislaus County, and the accolades that would come from wards in these facilities. They're not one to talk about people, but when Vicky would go on our tours, they all knew her. And they all had positive things to say about her because of the hard work she put in and how they knew that she really cared about their future. So this award is well earned, well deserved, and Vicky, keep changing people's lives like you have been for your entire career, and we're lucky to have you. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Trustee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chancellor Young, if I can just say one thing.
Yes.
Vicky, this was a private conversation between me and the chancellor. When I said about this award, he said that, yeah, $1.3 million is great. Now she has got the award. So what's the target for next year? Let's do it 2 million. You can do it.
I need one for each bookend. Thank you, everyone. I'm so humbled.
Thank you. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Chancellor.
Thank you. We have an emergency operation center in our district. Some of you may recall that roughly about a month or so before the lockdown was announced, I had activated the EOC, and the EOC has been functioning since then. Not a whole lot of fanfare, but a dedicated group of people working very hard, week after week, to help guide all of us through this pandemic. And I want all of us to know that the EOC is now working on a task that is going to impact our repopulating efforts at our campuses. And it is exciting to see a group of people so dedicated, working together, putting in time out of their busy schedules to try and guide all of us. And with that introduction, I want to turn the time over to Vice Chancellor Trevor Stewart, who is the chair of the EOC, for an update.
Thank you, Chancellor Young. I wanted to provide the board and the campus communities an update of what we've been doing since the last October meeting. So our task in front of us is to develop a verification, testing, and contact tracing process that allows the safe repopulating of our campuses. Soon after the October resolution was passed, the Emergency Operations Center met with vendors that are currently assisting other colleges with these tasks. Earlier this morning, a few of us met with our preferred vendor to review their proposal and determine the next steps that we need to take. We expect to launch the vaccination verification process in the next few weeks, which will assist us with OSHA tracking for employees and the incentive offer for students. We've been able to identify additional YCCD staffing to enable us to retain the contact tracing aspect as it relates to COVID and identified quarantine or positive cases. So that means we will not need to contract out this service. And testing guidelines have been written and should be shared with the YCCD community after our vendor agreements are in place and the exact processes can be identified. So within the last just few weeks, we've made a lot of progress towards being prepared for January and the start of the spring semester, with more information to come shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Among our employees, we have a group of folks that we call essential employees. Specifically, I'm referring to our facilities folks, our security folks, our custodial folks. You know, we don't give them a lot of credit for the work that they do, but they sure work hard day in and day out. And we have mostly forgotten that they are working right here in our midst. Otherwise, our operation will grind to a halt. Most recently, of course, I want to draw your attention to the fact that we had a storm coming not very long ago. And these groups of folks worked very, very hard. Everyone was on deck to make sure that our facilities survive the storm. Now, we did end up with leaks in a number of buildings. Fortunately, no trees fell, although tree limbs fell. But because of the hard work of this group of people, we're okay. So I just want to thank them publicly for the work that they do. Thank you. And of course, I want to wish the United States Marine Corps a happy 246th birthday. And of course, tomorrow is Veterans Day. So to all the veterans in our community, and I know there are many, so thank you for your service to our country. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chancellor Young. Great information being shared this evening, and in particular, thank you, Trevor, Vice Chancellor Stewart, for that update. It's important to hear that. Questions or comments from trustees? Let me just see if I see any. Very good. We'll move on then to action items under the consent agenda. There are action items 7.2 through 7.10 on our consent agenda. We can take them with one motion to approve. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Richard.
I, Trustee Garrett, will second that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Garrett. Roll call vote from our stenographer.
Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs. Trustee Beggs.
Sorry, the space bar did not work. Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Hinton.
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau.
Yes.
And Chair Vulcan.
Yes.
The vote is 7-0, motion carries.
And Madam Chair, I didn't fall asleep, but I looked at my agenda and I did not see any retirements on there.
Correct.
So,
that's correct. Oh, I would have reminded you, but I too noticed that. Thank you very much.
Why Trustee Richards was smiling when he made the motion.
Very good. Let's move on to action items under Section 8. Moving on first to 8.1 Board Policy, second reading. I want to thank again the Chair of the Policy Committee, Nancy Hinton, for previewing this item, and all of the people that she thanked, including Kimberly Gibbs, who also provided the board prior to this meeting with some more background on the second reading. The recommended action is that the Board of Trustees conducts a second reading and approves the following YCCD policies: 50-15, 50-40, 50-55, 5500, 5530, 5610, 7130, 7233, and 7235 as attached to the November 10th agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Nicolau. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Melton. I heard it first from Trustee Hinton. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to give it to Hinton. I heard it first from her. And we'll go to the board stenographer for a roll call vote.
Chair. Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Trustee Hinton.
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau.
Aye.
And Chair Vulcan.
Yes.
The vote is 7-0, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on now to 8.2, the quarterly report on the district's financial condition. Is this Vice Chancellor Stewart? Who's presenting this? I'm not sure who is.
Give me one moment.
I realize first that I have to do a public hearing, but who's giving?
The presentation first, please.
Okay, and then a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. So is it Vice Chancellor Stewart?
Chancellor Stewart is on.
Okay. Go right ahead.
I'm on the wrong agenda item. So presented for you is the quarterly report that's submitted to the Chancellor's office. We presented this to Board Finance at its recent meeting, and we're hoping for approval of this quarterly financial report. Again, the quarterly information is very similar to prior year. We're seeing relatively consistent fiscal conditions currently.
Thank you, Trevor. Any questions? Oh no, let me open the public hearing at 6:55 on this item. Any public comment on this item? Look to see if I see any hands up.
See any raised hands? There
being none, we'll close the public hearing at, let's just round it up to 6:56. And is there not a required action as well to direct staff to submit a copy of the required report to the California Community College's Chancellor's office? Is there a motion to direct staff to do that?
Madam Chair, I trustee Darren Garrett, also as chair of the Finance Committee, we approve adoption of this as well. I'll make the motion as stated.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Aguilar. Moving now to Board Stenographer for a roll call vote.
Chair Melton.
Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Hinton.
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau.
Yes.
Chair Vulcan.
Yes.
The vote is 7-0, motion carries.
Very good. I asked Milton to do the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. So trying to get all voices in here. Okay, very good. We're moving on to 8.3, which is academic calendars for 2022-23 and 23-24. Because it's really hard to say those numbers sometimes. I think that's where we are. Academic years. The recommended action is that the Board of Trustees adopt the 2022-23 academic calendar for Columbia College and Modesto Junior College, and tentatively adopt the 23-24 academic calendar as attached to the November 10th, 2021 agenda. Is there a motion to approve that action?
I, Trustee Hinton, make a motion to approve 8.3 for the 2022-23 and tentatively for the 23-24 school calendar year.
Thank you, Trustee Hinton. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I trustee Darren Garrett will second that recommended action.
I have a second, and then I have a board discussion. Help me understand, I'm not opposed to this at all. Why do we tentatively adopt or propose to tentatively adopt the second year? Is that because it's just to leave room for variations?
Yes.
That makes sense. Okay, I didn't know if I couldn't recall if that was standard practice. Very good. I'll move to Board Stenographer for a roll call vote.
Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Trustee Hinton.
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau.
Yes.
Chair Vulcan.
Yes.
Vote is 7-0, motion carries.
Very good. Moving on to 8.4, Board Policy 6305, Reserves and Fund Balance Spending. We did get a preview of this. Thank you from our Vice Chair and Chair of the Finance Committee this evening already. And allow me to read the background on this. At the November 1st, 2021, Board of Finance Committee received an update regarding the discussion held at the District Finance Committee on district reserves. The Vice Chancellor of District Administrative Services Trevor Sturrett mentioned the focus on fiscal resilience and overall fiscal health, shared recently by the CCCCO and the ACBO conference. The CCCO is expected to release new guidance relating to fiscal health for districts where it adopts the Government Finance Officers Association's recommendations for fund balance guidelines. The GFOA recommends, quote, at a minimum that general purpose governments, regardless of size, maintain unrestricted budgetary fund balance in their general fund of no less than 2 months of regular general fund operating revenues or regular general fund operating expenditures. The discussion of fund balance can be found, and there's a link available in our packet. As a result, the Board Finance Committee was interested in bringing suggested revisions to the board. And we heard this evening that the recommendation is to send this to the policy committee for their consideration. And that is the recommended action. Board discussion or motion, whichever you like. What's your pleasure?
Move to accept the report.
There is a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it, but I want to make sure that we know that it's to move it to the district policy and procedure, and they will forward it to the board policy and procedure.
Thank you, Trustee Hinton, for that clarification. Trustee Richards, are you okay with that motion as worded by the second?
After careful consideration, I will allow the change.
Very good. Let's go for board discussion, if any. Seeing none, let's go to roll call vote. Board stenographer.
Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Trustee Hinton.
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau.
Yes.
And Chair Balkin.
Yes.
The vote is 7-0 to take that item to the district board policy, district policy and procedures process.
Thank you very much. Moving on to section 9, board comments. 9.1, request for future board agenda items.
I have one.
Yes, please.
I think there's a lot of misconception about the financial condition of the district. I think people think we have all kinds of money, but then I hear our finance people say, no, we don't. I would like to see, and I know you've done all these reports before, but I would like to see a really comprehensive report of every dollar that we receive because of COVID. I'd like to see an explanation of how it can be spent and what we're planning to be spent. And I'd like to leave that presentation understanding exactly where we are, because at this point in time, I will not support any raising of the reserves until I get that information, because I understand what might happen a year from now or whatever, but I just think there's a lot of misconceptions about how much money we have. I think we have needs. I think we have facility needs. I think it's a difficult time to ask our employees to pay for their health care. So I want to see a real report of where we are with all this stuff. And I'd like to see it at the next meeting, because if you're talking about increase in the reserve and stuff, I want to have that information before I vote. And I think our faculty definitely want to see that information.
Very good. Thank you, Trustee Richards, for that recommended board agenda item. So noted. I have 2 items. One is I would, listening to the updates tonight, in particular from our chancellor, and then from our vice chancellor regarding the actions being taken by the district to carry out the board resolution 21-22.07. I'd like to suggest that an agenda item sit regularly alongside the other standing item that we've had, which is an update from our colleges about reopening and repopulating and enrollment, and reports from our health services officers. I think that it makes more sense to have that accompany the work of the EOC and the work of the implementation accompany that presentation. My second item is that, and by the way, it gives the board an opportunity to discuss the progress of the implementation of the resolution, because without it, we can't discuss anything that's not agendized. The second thing that I'd like to suggest is a board study session regarding the implementation of Resolution 21-22.07 that looks at 3 items, not limited to 3 items. The cost to date, or the burden of the cost that the resolution requires for testing. Number 2, an update on the real logistical challenges around testing and victories. And then finally, how, if any, we can determine or understand how enrollment for second semester might be impacted or not by the resolution. So I'd like to suggest that we look at a board study session near the end of January. And those are my 2 items. Any other items from our trustees for future agenda items? Yes, Trustee Hinton.
I would just like to have an opportunity in open session for the board to share their reasonings and maybe questions, maybe during the time when the health report is given, that we can give our reasoning behind our vote, and maybe we can get a further clarification from area experts on giving us further information on our views, and having individual things actually questioned, whether we do it in open session or a closed session, but that we can get some more clarification out there, because I know from myself, I didn't take the vote lightly. I did my own research. I also did it from personal cases where I know of people that have been vaccinated and gotten COVID. And that's why I voted to have the testing for all. But I think there's some reasoning back there, and I'd like to hear some of it that we haven't heard yet.
Very good. So noted, Trustee Hinton. Thank you for that board agenda discussion item. Any other items under this 9.1 request for future board agenda items?
Margie, I like your idea of a study session, but I think January is too soon because it will have just been implemented. So I think maybe February would be better than January, but that's just, when something first starts, it's almost too early to tell if it's working, and we won't even know yet how it's been adjusted.
Very good. Thank you for that suggestion. Any other requests for future board agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move to 9.2 comments from the Board of Trustees. And we'll go in order. Sorry, it's just easier for me to do it that way because I know Trustee Hinton, it always puts you first. So go ahead, Trustee Hinton, any comments for the board?
Just as it's been mentioned, today's November 10th, tomorrow's November 11th, Veterans Day. I always call my brother and wish him a happy Veterans Day. But I'd like to thank all of our veterans that are on campus, whether they're students, faculty, classified staff, or anyone else, and say thank you for keeping our country safe. It's appreciated. And I hope that you know that you are appreciated. And if you're only told once a year, go get your free meal tomorrow and enjoy the day.
Very good. Thank you so much, Trustee Hinton. Up next would be Area 3, Trustee Richards.
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next would be Area 4, Trustee Nicolau.
No comment, thank you.
Very good. Up next, Area 5, Trustee Garrett.
Just to echo what has been already said, I want to take a moment to honor those who have served, honor those who have given the ultimate sacrifice and laid down their life on the altar of freedom. and those who are currently serving and in harm's way defending our strong values and beliefs. So I want to thank all of those people for what they have done. And include in that, as our chancellor has pointed out, the valued service of those that have remained on campus and have kept our facilities clean, have kept our campuses in good shape, and provided security for our community and for our staff. So I want to thank those classified professionals for what they do on a day in and day out basis. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Garrett. Trustee Begg, Area 6.
I also want to thank our veterans. As some of you know, my dad was an MJC student. He was also a Navy pilot. And my cousin also was in the military, and we thank them all for their sacrifice and service. I also just wanted to say that I look forward to hearing the details of the testing requirement when that's worked out, and I hope that the contract with whatever vendor is chosen will allow for the flexibility that was mandated in the board resolution to react to whatever's going on in the current moment. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Beggs. Area 7, Trustee Aguilar.
Thank you. No comment.
Thank you, Trustee Aguilar. Before I go to our student trustee, I echo what's been said about Veterans Day, as I did in my opening remarks this evening. My second thing is that I thought Lana Van Epp's recommendation for all of us to see what it's like to register for a class, if you haven't done so, might be a really good learning experience. So I thought that was, I've done it before, but I'm going to take her up on it again, because Professor Joe Manlove recommended I did it a year and a half ago, and he was right. It was an eye-opener. So Lana, thank you for that suggestion. I encourage my colleagues to do the same. And lastly, I wanted to thank the Chancellor for allowing me to be present when he did the welcome to our student trustee, Arshia Amir Soleimani, at his office at the president's office at Columbia College. So it was a delight to meet Ashiar in person, and it's my pleasure to give him the last word for this evening. Go ahead, Ashiar, our student trustee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good night, staying warm. It's been getting colder. Yes, in regards to what Madam Chair just said, I did meet with Chancellor Young and Madam Chair, and it was an amazing experience for me personally to discuss certain matters and discuss leadership and the effectiveness of leadership within our community. So I was very grateful for that. So I want to thank Chancellor Young for taking the time to do that with me. Also, I want to thank Graciela Molina and Kimberly Gibbs. They have contacted me several times, and we have met several times, and they have really helped and guided me throughout this onboarding process also. So thank you so much for that. I also did meet with Columbia's ASCC president and ASCC advisor, where I got a chance to sit down and discuss certain matters, discuss what I was currently doing and the things that I was doing at the time. This also led me to meet with within their Senate meeting, which was also another great experience, just to hear how what the government was doing within their activities. So that was also a great time. One thing that I did start doing, or got the process started, was creating a survey for the students in regards to our latest mandate resolution. I know MJC had a survey prior to the resolution. We also were working, well, Columbia was working on one, but now to have a survey post resolution, just to have, continue to have student perspective on how they feel on the decision. So that is something that's going to be sent out to both MJC and Columbia campuses. And I think that's pretty much one thing I will share that was really awesome for me, and it warms my heart, is it's been a really long time since I've seen, at least and I'm sure this is happening at MJC too now, to see our tutoring center thriving. And one thing that I experienced as I was up there was there were calc students working on math, some of it for fun. We had a trig tutor who came over who started doing it too. In another room, we had people working on physics. We had sign language going on behind them, political science to the left of them. And then we had students also on our computers printing out files and also working on their projects. And it's been a very long time since I've seen that thriving community just embellish within this education. And it just really warmed my heart. And it's always a great reminder of, what we're all doing and, the time that we're giving. And I, no doubt in my mind that also MJC's campus is thriving just as well in that same sense. And so that really, it was cool. It was like an out-of-body experience. It's been a long time since that was going on. So I figured I'd share that also. But that's all I have. I'm very excited to continue these lines of communication with MJC president and their student body, and keep continuing to create these lines of communication with everybody here, and also the other trustees here. So thank you so much. I'm excited.
Wow, thank you for that uplifting report and visual about students interacting about learning. That was fantastic. With that, we'll move to 11.1. The next regular meeting of the Board of Trustees will be held on Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. Closed session will begin at 3 p.m. and open session will begin at 5:30. This meeting is adjourned at 7:16. Have a great evening.